Welcome to an all-new episode of the Zelda Book Club. So now we go later in the timeline to Rauru of the
Watarara.
I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, it's not water. It's Watar.
Watarara.
I think that's how it goes.
The name is so close to Rauru.
Yeah, I know. Why?
I at first thought, is this going to be a chapter about Rauru?
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then the character is a flying bird. I'm like thinking, is this a Rito? Like the manga was released well before.
The people writing it did not know about.
It didn't feel like a Rito to you?
It did. I feel like you could, retcon it.
So let's just run through the story. I like that there's a lot of references to a lot of the characters.
There was so much, yeah.
It starts in the fishing hole, and the man is sort of teasing Link because he can't catch a fish. And then Link gets mad and grabs his hat and reveals the bald spot. There's some really corny jokes that get said here. The guy running the fishing hole makes a joke saying that, the fish are smarter than you think. They live in schools.
Oh, yeah.
Like a school of fish.
That seems like a joke that guy would make. Yeah. So I like it.
So after Link steals his hat and then runs off, he's like, well, at least I gotta learn something. He's making a reference to the school joke. Now Link is just fishing, but this time on Lake Hylia, just outside apparently. And he's dreaming of the things he's gonna cook and eat. And then Navi's like, you gotta catch a fish first. He finally pulls something up, and it's a humanoid bird named Rauru.
That's when my initial reaction was like, is this a Rito?
Yeah, I thought it was a Rito, but I actually got a vibe that it was very similar to the Zora prince from Twilight Princess, because it was this wounded, it was drowning, I guess, I don't know, but it was clearly weakened. They took Rauru and took him over to the doctor in Lake Hylia. The one house in Lake Hylia makes an appearance here. So they're there for a few minutes, and all of a sudden Rauru awakens, and the guy's a prick.
I like it. Makes me think of that kind of typical entitled prince. You know what I mean?
He says that at one point. I'm a prince. Rauru is clearly envious of Navi, because what we learn is that this tribe travels through Hyrule once a year during the migration season, and they fly over Hyrule, and he fell off his mother's back because he's too young to have wings. And because he's too young to have wings, he's envious of Navi's ability to fly because he can't fly. And this is very similar to the Rito as well, because the Rito don't have wings, the kids.
It made me think a little bit of is it Komali? When you first meet him in Wind Waker, he's like, leave me alone, maybe if you can do this, I'll talk to you, but otherwise don't talk to me. And he can't get his wings, and he's kind of a prick. He's
more sad, it seems, than anger. But sometimes sadness makes you show anger.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going on with Rauru a little bit. He even plays a trick on Navi. Navi starts flying away from him. I don't want anything to do with you. But then he's like, I'm sad and help me. And then Navi comes and he grabs him with a net, puts him in a bag, and sticks him up on the tower at the top of that house. What a prick. What this guy's an asshole.
Yeah, it's supposed to be played for comedy, because it's it's a lighthearted thing, but when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, this is stuff where this is not just a misunderstood kid. He's a bad guy.
Yeah, he's kidnapping fairies.
That's when Navi is like, I'm getting out of here.
Link goes looking for him, and then there's that scene where it's from the top. It just shows Link yelling, Navi, Navi. Mm-hmm. And then you see Navi trapped in a stereotypical bag at the top.
You can see him being tested a little bit.
Yeah, because Navi gets mad at Link because Link is still remorseful for this kid. Navi is viewing this as, you're taking his side over mine. And then she leaves, literally leaves, flies off. I'm going to go find somebody who cares about me.
They don't explicitly state it, but I can see why Link is sympathetic. This guy is obviously very sensitive about not having his wings, almost in the same way that when Link is told he doesn't have a fairy, he lashes out. So Link, I think, feels for this character more than they could have actually mentioned that more, I think.
It's also because this is adult Link we're talking, so there's presumably some more maturity here. So he's got a little bit more knowledge, even though time didn't really go by for him.
So I like that when Navi flies off, she first tries to talk to the running man.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, do you need a partner? He's just like, no. And he's like, oh, he rejected me flat out.
It was like, why is he in this? But it was like, they clearly needed an NPC for Navi to interact with.
Oh, yeah.
Just to show that Link appreciates you a little bit.
His character had like the tiniest of arcs. Like they set up his like determination, and then later they pay it off. When Navi leaves, we see Rauru's family, I guess.
They're searching for him. It was like 2 pages. It was like we're not going to progress with our migration until we find him. And then his like caretaker's like, I will find him or I will die trying. But then his mom makes a pretty touchy quote of, I'm torn between being a mother and also being the protector of our race. It's like, if we miss this migration, we're all going to presumably die or something. I don't know. Moments later, there's giant tornadoes coming at the doctor's house. And we find out they are the flare dancers from the fire temple. I love the out of context placement of some of these enemies.
That's when we see the running guy being pulled into it, and he's just like pure determination. Like he's like, I have to accept this, or I forgot what he says, but it's hilarious.
So Link first is like, Navi, what's its weak spot? And then he's like, oh, Navi's not here to help me.
Link realizes the usefulness of Navi.
Yeah, Navi just appears back, and she gives Link the advice of the outer tornado. It's like a facade almost. Jump into the tornado. Good advice.
Rauru is like, why would you do that?
They get stuck on a tree branch, Link and Rauru, and Link is trying to teach him, you gotta be brave, fly, go fly. And he's like, I can't fly, I don't have any wings. And then he tries flying and then fails. And then Link jumps into the tornado and absolutely destroys the flare dancers in seconds. The flare dancers and the tornado go away, but the tornado has caused Link to be launched into the air, and he's falling down. But then this is where Rauru comes to the rescue, takes a risk, jumps, and now he's flying and grabs onto Link with his legs or something. But then Link is a little too heavy, so now they're falling together. And then out of nowhere comes Rauru's mom. And, his mom is huge, much bigger, and I guess flies them to safety.
Now, Rauru kind of gets to take control of leading the migration, I guess.
His mom is like this big, and he's like this big. He's like, all right, give your first command. Like, suddenly he's in control of this whole, like, empire. It's a happily ever after ending. I'll see you next year during the next migration, and Link is waving goodbye, and everybody's happy.
It was a nice little story, I thought.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was another one like the last chapters we were talking about, where I liked that it was separate from the game. Like that it was a new story, and that it could, I was never like, okay, he's fighting Dark Link and Kakariko. Do I like that, or do I not like that? I don't know.
Let me ask you this. Would you have put this chapter just in the middle of the book?
I would have, probably, actually.
Yeah, because this could have fit.
This actually made me think. I liked that it was just like a little story of Link doing something set in that world. Like, I would totally read like a weekly, manga, much like a comic or anything, about just Link's adventures in this Ocarina of Time world.
Yeah.
Where then you can expand on things more and the story wasn't rushed. That's what this chapter made me think of.
Yeah, I agree. It gives a lot of development. You get to see, this is the first time we really saw Lake Hylia.
Mm-hmm.
We never saw it.
At all, yeah.
Yeah, and we got to see some characters. We got to see the flare dance. It was great. This was good. This was great in that it saw a lot of the familiar characters and enemies, but also introduced a whole new race, all in one chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, the story was, it was a generic story, but
it's fun. Yeah. And it, now when we were reading the main story, it was like, is Link maturing? Like, I don't know for sure. And then this is one that actually shows that. much like him guiding Mido in the Forest Temple, you know. Also, they gave more character to the guy at the lake. He was like trying out stuff on Link.
Yeah, he's like giving him
herbal
food or something.
And
and
stuff, yeah.
like, what is this?
He's like, I'm not your guinea pig or whatever. Yeah, I like that. And the guy was like, no, like, help me. So we finished reading all the chapters and discussing them, but we've got one more.
Yeah, we'll do one more roundup video of our whole thoughts on the manga as a whole. Probably be a short video, but it'll be a recap.
There's a little afterword in here. Did you notice that?
Yeah, we'll cover that.
Maybe we could. Yeah, I think it gives a lot of context to. I read like bits of it, so we can maybe talk about that a little bit. If I think all the versions have it, right? So yeah, let us know what you thought about these chapters. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe, and I guess we'll see you in the final episode.